All right, real quick, I want to take a minute. We're going to derail this conversation because I want to talk about something that I think is pretty interesting. I don't know. I want to get you guys' feedback on it, whether you're watching this on Twitch or if you're watching this on YouTube. I do plan on making this into a YouTube video, so say hi, YouTube. But yeah, let's... So there's a video that Dayoman did the other day. And if you don't know Dayoman, he's a friend of mine. He's a cool dude. Let me get this into frame. If you want to check out Dayoman's YouTube channel, actually, I highly recommend checking it out. I'll drop it in the chat real quick. So subscribe to Dayoman. He's a homie. Watch him on Twitch too if you like Spyro. He's doing right now a 100% tutorial on Spyro, and it's doing well. But the whole purpose of this video, which, you know, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, is he's talking a lot about his mentality and what because he's a world record speedrunner. He is a, you know, top 0.1% kind of speedrunner. Yo, thanks for the host, Lion Ryoja. He has been grinding this game for literally years to get to world record status. He's currently third place, only 2 seconds off world record in 80%, and has been grinding 120%, which is the completionist category for Spyro, for 7 years, and finally got the world record by a good amount. There's a good video kind of detailing the whole thing by the Rickster. If you haven't seen it, it blew up. It has 1 million views or some shit. But talking about mentality in particular, let me see if I can find some of the spots.
I was listening to Cinder's stream earlier today, and she was.
He talks a lot about mentality. There was one bit, somewhere in the middle here.
People say 2016, 2017. He rated me with 150 viewers.
He's talking about stream mentality, but there was one part.
You know, it's just it could be overwhelming if you're not used to it.
Still talking about.
I had no stream. It's not as momentous of an.
Still talking about raids.
Something that some person's being a bigot and they're
talking about.
If you're gonna stream, you gotta
stream.
Be the thing you were feeling up to that moment.
Anyways, somewhere in this video, he talks a lot about what you should go for as a speedrunner when you're learning a game or if you're trying to have fun. In the Spyro community in particular, there's somewhat of a sentiment, is at least what he said on stream. There's somewhat of a sentiment of, don't learn the hard stuff. The hard stuff isn't worth doing. You're not going to have fun going for hard stuff. And I don't know if that's necessarily true, and he doesn't necessarily believe it either. So I'm curious to see what you guys think. So let's use Soten as an example. Do you think it's better to not learn, I don't know, some of the harder tricks just because they're harder? You know, just don't learn how to infinite wing smash. Infinite wing smash is too hard for you to learn off the bat. Instead, just focus on something else. It depends, right? It does depend. But do you think a blanket statement of don't learn hard strats is for example, they're talking about don't even the basic movement mechanics in Spyro is charge glide and flame charge. And those are you can apply them basically everywhere. It's similar to shield dashing and wing smashing for Soten, for example. They're kind of comparable. Their community, at least from what Dayo has said, is don't even focus on learning, because you can just play the game without it. You can play the game without it, and you can learn it with time. Don't do strats that require you to do these hard things like charge glides. And that would be like me saying don't learn how to wing smash up, because wing smashing up is harder than just wing smashing. You know what I mean? So I'm just curious to see if does that even make sense? Because I come from the background of you should learn what you're willing to learn, because it's you're the one that has to do the runs at the end of the day. So if you're failing at a certain position in a run and you don't learn it, that's on you. It's one thing to not learn stuff. It's another to instead replace with something that will inevitably turn into a bad habit. For example, not learning floor clip has no disadvantages. You just add it later. Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying here. I mean, you can play the game without speedrunning. Do what's most interesting to you. Exactly. It depends on your goal, right? So if your goal is to just play through the game kind of fast, then I guess it makes sense to not, need to learn stuff. But you don't infinite wing smash, that drastically changes how you're used to doing rooms. Exactly. Yep. So yeah, obviously doing an infinite wing smash is harder than just doing a single wing smash. It depends on your experience in speedrunning in general, for sure. Do what you want, of course, but you definitely need general concepts like focusing, practicing, research. I definitely agree with what Doc's saying here. I would also argue that, like, how do I explain this? Having set strats for, because basically most speedruns, except for ones that are super RNG heavy where you have to react on the fly, most speedruns you have a goal for like specific sections of the run, and like strats, whether they're hard or not, are just like tools that you use to solve problems. Let's say, for example, the Guardian room in the second castle in Soten. It's like really difficult to get through that room if you can't infinite wing smash. If you drop a wing smash in that room, you're gonna fall out, and then the Guardian's gonna fucking hit you. You know. Some grandma strats are just bad ideas because you should never get used to doing them. That's what I'm saying, Talik. Yeah. So going through and not having a strategy for specific parts of a run could make the experience so much less fun. So when people are saying like, do what you want, do whatever you want, and then they're like failing a room because they don't have the answer to the problem that's at hand that could be easily solved by just like practicing it for 10 minutes. That's when I start to think that maybe you're not having fun with just going with the flow and not learning the hard strats. Maybe learning the hard strats would make this section more fun for you. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the opposite side of the coin. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think learning harder strats in general to start is probably better. Because, like, I guess I'll use my own experience right now. Right now, off stream, I've been learning Spyro any percent. It's one of my favorite games, and the game is like really, really cool, has really cool movement options. It's pretty free form with a lot of the stuff that you can do. And I'm not learning just have fun, bro. Lol. Yo, what's up, Deo? I literally referenced your video earlier. I'm not sure if you saw it, but I'm like talking about the shit you were talking about yesterday. Nice, thanks. Exactly, yeah. Like I'm learning any percent, and I don't see a reason to not learn. Like, for example, you were kind of getting into it with Laura over bike caves or not, which is like a specific strat and a specific level that is very, very good as far as like collecting gems quickly, which is like the main goal of the speedrun. But it's kind of difficult. It requires some practice. My mentality is I'm going to sit there, I'm going to grind for like however many hours it takes to get it like consistent enough where I can get it went pretty consistently, you know, like where to the point where if I fail it, I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll get it next time. Or like, okay, I thought I had this consistent, let me practice it again. Like it gives me something to work on, you know? Whereas completely avoiding it because it's a little bit difficult makes me feel like I'm kind of like I'm not really learning the game, you know? If I'm doing suboptimal things everywhere, I'm like not even learning the same speedrun. Consistency in general is not talked enough about in guides and tutorials. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and like that strat in particular, it's like you go for the strat. If you fail it, you lose like 15, 20 seconds, whatever. But that's speedrunning. You go for something. If it doesn't work, you lose time. But you have to have, you know, backups, at least in mind, obviously. But like to completely reroute the entire game to avoid doing one trick, at least in my opinion, seems like, you know, and it does depend on the trick. Exactly. If it's something that is like humanly possible, you got the right attitude. People handicap themselves a lot in speedrunning, the whole safe strat thing. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong, but there's a time and a place to have safe strats, but it obviously depends on like how difficult the strat is. Like for example, if like bufferless floor clip, which is like 3 frame perfect inputs back to back, that's not super humanly feasible unless that's something you want to go for. Or if you're doing a marathon run, obviously you want to have backups or you want to do more consistent things. But if you're going for personal best times, I feel like your goal should be to learn whatever it like you can. Like I could be doing runs of Spyro right now. I could say, you know what, fuck it, I'm not going to learn all the routes. I'm not going to learn all the tricks. I'm not going to learn everything. I could just play through the game. And I've done that. I did that 6 years ago. It was a completely blind run. And I had fun doing it. But like, Now if I want to play more, I can't just keep doing that. My interest is in getting somewhat competent in a game, you know? Even if I'm not going to get world record, even if I'm not going to do like this for very long, I don't see the point in like going through the process of starting to learn a speedrun just to get to a roadblock where it's like, this is kind of hard. Other people are doing it. Other people are able to get it consistently, but I don't want to put in the effort to learn it. That's where I think my mentality shifts from other people, maybe, where I see something that other people are doing it. They're doing it consistently. I can do that. There's another big problem with safe strats. If you aren't pushing your limits in at least some aspects, you're sabotaging your own progress. Yep, exactly. Yep. How do you transition from casual into speedrunning? Just playing casual and implementing speed strats here, and there's just going for runs however long it may take to complete. That's probably step one. Like, you're already doing it. Like, I think that's how most people start, unless you are... That's basically like your gateway drug into speedrunning, I think, is to just... Because that's how I started. I started just by looking up glitches in games that I liked, and then I eventually found speedrunning through people doing tutorials for glitches in games that I liked. So then I implemented those glitches, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. How can I force myself to use this glitch in an interesting way? Because just doing it on its own, like, if there's like some out of bounds shit that's used in a speedrun, just doing it for the sake of doing it is like cool once or twice. But like, if I want to keep doing it, then what's the point if I'm not putting stakes behind it? If I'm not pushing myself to force myself to use these techniques, you know? It's like infinite wing smash. What's the point in learning how to infinite wing smash if I'm not pushing myself to use it? Because if I'm not speedrunning, there's no point in me doing an infinite wing smash. It's just harder, you know? Like, obviously, there's the self-satisfaction of doing something, which is like, that's like the first step, but that high runs out really fast, you know? You can get a couple flame charges in Spyro and think like, wow, I'm so good at the game. I feel so great that I flame charged all these crates and shit. But it's like that high wears off pretty quick. But when you're doing like a set route that feels fast and you know it's fast and you have a timer and you look at your timer and your splits are fucking green as shit, you have like 4 golds in the middle of a run, that's when you're like, okay, this speedrunning thing is pretty cool. Obviously, that's like the start of most people's journey, but... And then you get to the point where you plateau because you haven't practiced shit. What's on the agenda for today? Interested in racing? Of course, of course. I'm down to do some races. I was basically just trying out this whole conversation type bit for stream, see how you guys felt about it. Wanted to try out different stuff for the YouTube as well. So I plan on like cutting down this conversation, editing it down, and posting it to YouTube maybe. I do like the idea of gradual progression over time. I come from the school of like learning things efficiently, I guess. Speed Brian F, yeah, kind of. Or like a Sajam type. I have a lot of inspirational ideas from both Sajam and Brian F as far as like YouTube type content that I want to do on the side. So it's not all just speedruns and like randomizer stuff on the YouTube. I want to try breaking out into doing different things. But yeah, like nobody's really doing like talk show podcast type content on streams, I feel like. At least not from the people that I follow. Maybe there are other people that do it as far as speedrunning goes, but I don't know. It seemed like an interesting enough topic that warranted a discussion in my head. I would like to learn to speedrun, but I don't like to repeat the same thing over and over again. Maybe I should try randomizers. That's not a bad idea. Randomizers are there for, I think, people that have that exact feeling where they want to put their skills to the test, but not necessarily through like rote repetition where they repeat the same trick over and over again. They want to react to a certain like situation and then plan their way out of it. And I think that's perfectly valid as well. You know, it's a different skill set. You know, there's quite a few of them out there. Exactly. Yeah, I think that the randomizer is a perfect fit for that kind of situation. Or games that have randomness or like roguelike elements built into them. That's more your speed, I would say. I wouldn't necessarily if you've never done a speedrun before, I don't know if you can necessarily say that you don't like the idea of learning the same thing over and over again, because when you learn something and it's like difficult at first and then you start to get an idea of it and master it, and then you perform the trick in a run and you get it first try and you save a shit ton of time, that feeling is probably like the best feeling in speedrunning. When you've practiced something and you're ready to try it out and you get it, it's like that high will like, you're chasing that high forever when it comes to speedrunning. I've been chasing that high for fucking 7 years. That's an unanswerable question. What was the question? Is Soten in the top head speed game when it comes to skill? Yeah, that's a different discussion as far as like skill and that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's ever an answerable question. Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I'm going to say it's the best speed game, but that's because I've devoted fucking 8 years of my life to this game. So it's like I'm a little biased when it comes to talking about what's a good speed game and what's not. So it is really good. I will say in general, it's just a good video game, whether or not you're speedrunning it or not. My opinion is that like consistent low RNG, high execution skill, like skill cap games are probably going to be the better speedruns, but that's, you know. Wing smashing is the strafe jumping of Metroidvanias. It is incredible. I agree. Something with interesting movement, you know. Saw the video on the book sword dash run. Nice. Man, you should definitely try Prime 1 sometime. It's a fucking trip. I tried playing it casually, and I really couldn't get into it.
Tribute.
Yo, Master Draco, how's it been, dude? What's up?
And make them your slaves.
How you doing? I'm doing great. It's good to see you, bud. Yeah, I mean, Prime 1, I remember trying to get into it. It's really tanky casually. I got like maybe an hour in, and I was like, what is going on? There's like a story that I don't really care about. I feel like the movement controls are really awkward. I imagine once I learn some of the speedrunning stuff, it probably opens up and is like really cool, but maybe I should just learn it as a speedrun first instead of trying to play it casually, because I never got into it casually. So it's not like it would ruin the casual experience for me because I didn't like it casually. But the speedrun is probably the highest skill ceilings things on the GameCube. Damn. I know that people have been like running it for like ever and ever. It's like one of the OG speedruns. So many of the rando vids in the races, nice. Daigon losing his shit had me in shambles. That's the Daigon classic. Daigon, it doesn't matter what's going on his screen. He's like, what the fuck? How do I, just screaming. Because he'll just fail like a dive kick or something, and the world is over. Very emotive person. I like playing with Daigon. All right, I think that's enough for just vibing and talking about shit. Basically, dashing is broken and there's no speed cap for movement from side to side. Oh, so it's all basically like strafe dashing, strafe jumping kind of. Interesting. I do like games that do like you combine vertical speed speed in the X direction and Y direction, whether it's through strafe jumping or you know, they just add the speeds together when you move diagonally because games were funny like that. Have I already died in every room in Soten? Probably most rooms. So long as they have something you can die with. I don't think I've gone into every... Yeah, vectoring, thank you. As long as you can't... Like, I haven't killed myself with, toadstools and shit, like, in every room. But something like that. Either way. Yo, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
I'm gonna
off your stream.
Yeah, I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick and while the seed downloads, and then I'll get started. Optimal armor 42.